Hey everyone, today I'll be talking with an old friend of mine by the name of Jacob Gago. He's gone on to be a part of many great projects, worked with so many amazing artists across various genres as a music producer and a writer. So thank you so much for your time today, Jacob.
Thank you for having me, Bria. It's
You're
long
busy.
time,
You're
long time.
busy.
I know. I say, it's been a long time. So thank you for
Mhm.
having me. You've done great things as well. Look at you. You're over here interviewing, and I believe in the mission. You kind of told me some things on what you guys are doing as well. So yeah, keep it
Yeah.
up. I have no doubt you guys are gonna like just start interviewing even bigger people than me. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Nah. Look, I wanted to start with people who I knew first because they're my first motivators in music too. And what's crazy is like I've known you since high school, but I didn't know you were into music. And I think I saw an old picture where you're like, I've been at the keys for 15 years. I was like, we could have been jamming.
That's but wait, were you ever part of that? What was it
It's
called? Like,
called stage band. It was taught by what we call her Miss DJ. She taught this class, and basically we would bring our guitars. They already had a drum set there because obviously you didn't want to like load all your materials and stuff. And the whole class was basically we're supposed to jam and create our own bands and create our own songs, and it was really cool. I wish they
uh,
had more programs like that.
yeah, no, they should. They honestly should. I remember. Do you remember Mr. Eugene Banks?
I do
Yes.
not.
So he was another teacher that threw guitar club. Uh,
Hmm.
and yeah, everybody in there would just, oh my God, it was like walking into Guitar Center. Like,
Yeah.
gosh, like what chord are you guys playing collectively? Like, it's just
Hmm.
like yeah, it was fun. But I didn't know yourself. I knew you were kind of in that rocker stage because I feel like all
Hmm.
of us kind of were.
Oh, it
Like,
never ended. It never ended for me.
okay, okay, so like I'm just like, all right, it's not hard to not see us. We're the only black ones looking like rockers, so it's like.
Yeah. Like your first memory of, I guess, falling in love with music. Like, what's your very first instrument?
Well, very first instrument was actually piano.
Mm.
So my my starting in music is a little interesting because my parents do ministry work, and so it was one of those things where like, yo, um, we need players. My dad was like, okay, I got kids, I guess. So he was like, hey, you guys want to learn how to play piano? And at that time, I was innocent. I was just like, yeah, that'd be great. I thought like I'm just learning. Come to find out, I'm basically learning to play piano to join church 15,
Mhm.
for the rest of my life. And yeah, I just ended up learning piano and then trickled down to what did I learn next? Bass.
Oh, bass was next. Okay.
And then yeah, and then from bass it was guitar, and then from guitar it was drums. So I
Mm.
ended up just I guess like at that time being young, you have a lot of time. So
Hmm.
I figured at that time actually I didn't even care to be a producer. I didn't even know I wanted to be a producer. I just knew that I growing up I always had certain musical chord progressions that gave me goosebumps.
Hmm.
That's all I ever knew. I just knew that for sure, but I didn't know that I wanted to produce because it wasn't even a thought of mine. My production really came out of rebellion, if I may say, because I felt like my dad always broke up the bands I was at in high school and
Oh.
middle school because he was like, "Oh, that's the devil this, the devil that." I don't like
Yeah.
your band members. They look wayward. I even remember one day I was in a band and we were playing. They all came over to my house and we were all watching a Blink 182 concert on TV. My dad walks in like, "Oh, you should go and turn it off. You should go and put preaching so they
Oh.
could learn the word of God."
Oh man. I get it.
No,
Oh.
it was pretty tough. I was like, yo, like, wow, it's a Saturday. We're all just trying to chill. Like, what is going on? So eventually he kept breaking up my bands, and I was like, there's got to be another way. Because I was
Mhm.
still, living with them and trying to understand what. And so
What were you playing in the bands at that time?
mainly bass.
Hmm.
And if anyone calls out, like, can't make it, I'll replace them since I played their instrument as well.
Hmm.
So, but mainly I was doing bass. and also obviously being the songwriter. So eventually, I think it was like one summer of 2009. I think I was just like bored because I didn't have a band anymore, and my dad bought a MacBook. No, not MacBook. It was an iMac. It was one of
Mhm.
those like
Desktop.
computers
Mhm,
with the
mhm.
desktops. And he was like, "Don't go in there and touch it because that's for the church." And I'm like, "Sure, yeah, I don't even care." And at that time, Apple was, I guess, still making a buzz, and my sister had one. So I was like, "Oh, I'm really curious to like see what this thing is all about."
Mhm.
So one day, my dad left his home office door open. He wanted to go to the store or something, and I was like, yeah, I'm kind of bored at home, but like, and the door's open, so I should probably just see what it's about." So he left it open. He warned me not to touch it, and I just went in there, and I see a little icon with a guitar on it, and
Mhm.
it's like garage,
Garage band. Mhm.
and I clicked on it, and that's literally where my music career started from. I just knew that, whoa, I'm capable of being a one-man band, and
Yes.
I could play everything by myself. All I need is maybe like a MIDI keyboard,
Mhm.
and I could play every instrument on the keyboard. Oh yeah.
And I can loop and I can like dub. I
Yeah,
can,
it's funny 'cause,
yeah.
like I at that time I wanted to be an artist. I was like, wait, I might as well be an artist then. And I
Mm.
still have the CDs of my first beats.
I
Like,
want to hear it.
first of all, I made sure I hid it, that it took a lot of effort to find. I know it's somewhere in the house, but it's always hidden. And
You were doing vocals too?
I was doing vocals. Like
Hmm.
um I didn't know anything at that time. So you could tell the music wasn't quantized. Imagine
Yeah, I
how good
know.
that is, if that makes sense.
Yes. I know exactly what you're talking
Yeah,
about.
like I didn't know, and then the sound selection was definitely like trash. Like it's just
Hmm.
like weak. That's
Generic
what makes
and
an amateur sound like bad. It's just your sound selection is not right. Uh,
hmm hmm
the pattern might be there, but the sound selection isn't there. So everything just lacked juice, you
yeah.
know?
Before we knew what plugins were and
Oh my God, everything was stock. So
mm.
it's just like,
Mm.
so that's literally how it started. And so what also took things off for me was, at that time it sucked. So if you were an artist and you were starting, your sound also sucks. So you don't really know what sounds. You have an idea what sounds good, but then you also, if you find another producer that's down to help you, then
Mm-hmm.
you might collab. And so the
Yeah.
collaborators I had also sucked, like the rappers, but like somehow they liked what I was doing, and then they paid me, and it was only
Mm-hmm.
like $100. But at that time,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, I can make money from
Many,
this,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how it started. It literally, I just doubled in and got better. So yeah. So I sorry, I know that's a long answer,
No, I
but that was
love
kind of
it.
like the whole journey of how things got started for me. So
Yeah.
I guess if you really think about it, it was out of rebellion. So yeah, I don't know.
That's the best look. That's how the best things start. A little side note, there's this band called Dylan Arter, and they're like a metal band, and the front man is black, or he's mixed with black. And someone called him out on the internet, basically saying, "Hey, I bet you can't combine Negro music, but the less, the horrible term,
Yeah, yeah.
and metal." And he was like, "Okay, challenge accepted." And started this band, and the band just took off. Like it started off mostly just like an fu to the guy, but the band ended up just blowing up, and really good
Wow,
music, really good
that's
music.
fire. What is it? What are they called?
Zeal and Ardor. I'll send you some of their stuff.
Yeah.
They're basically like a blues meets metal, like death metal. Like he screams, the frontman sings, screams, plays guitar, and growls. So
Okay.
it's like I like that type of stuff. I don't know if you're really
I
into
do.
it.
I like
Okay.
metal music too. Yeah,
I
for sure.
love metal. It's so
Yeah.
amazing. I love
I'm still
everything.
yet to like get like a metal placement, but like
Hmm.
but I have gotten like rock placements, which
Hmm.
yeah, the Weathers is one, and
Hmm.
like I'm just like, yeah, it's fire,
I
honestly.
feel like that makes us better producers when you can experiment with different genres because you're not really tied down to, well, it has to sound this way. There's no rules when you like different music. I feel like that's what makes us different as artists, is like all of our different influences. That's what's like our genetic makeup, if you will, right? Like your
Yeah,
DNA as a musician. It's
Mhm.
all your different
I agree.
influences.
I agree, and that's where I think I shine a lot, and I thank God for it. It's like just I can't sit in one place, unfortunately. Like just who I
Mm-hmm.
am as a person, I don't know how to focus on one genre. I
Mm-hmm.
am my music journey is never boring. Like last night, Diplo was in the studio,
Mm-hmm.
and so that's more like Afro world kind of vibes he's on, and then there was some other artists that came for doing hip hop. So it's like there's a lot of like different just vibes every week for me, honestly. And then now I'm doing drum and bass. I'm actually working
Oh,
on a bass project right now. So it's like, yeah, it's just like exciting stuff, honestly.
and then when it comes to working with various genres, is there like a certain approach that you take when it comes to like producing for them?
It depends on the genre. For let's say I'm doing hip hop, generally they like to have the beats ready, and then you
Mm-hmm.
just go through some beats and you just play. When it's R&B, it's also kind of similar, but sometimes the artist likes to like cook up fresh
Mm-hmm.
with you, and so you start up new ideas. But generally what I do now, and I always recommend this to anyone, is prepare, like just create
Mm-hmm.
loops ahead of time, so then you're not being precious, because it is a lot of pressure. Like just imagine like Grammy winning and Billboard artists, like I'm literally in the studios with the people that people look up to, so it's
Mm-hmm.
weird for me to come in there not prepared. So I usually come in with like loops and just go through it and play loops that I think caters towards them. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of my approach nowadays.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Trying to kind of like pre-select for them.
Yeah,
That's right. It would save a lot of time to do it that way
yeah.
too.
Versus starting something from scratch, because you could be having a bad day or just you're not inspired that day. I don't really run into those issues a lot, but I could only imagine someone who struggles with inspiration and
Mm-hmm.
idea. Yeah, you're not going to.
Be able to think on the fly
Yeah,
like that.
I don't think people realize what collaboration means.
Yeah.
Where everyone's, and it's unfortunate on this. Like that's why I tell people, if you're gonna do music, you should have something else on the side. Like, and that doesn't mean like a backup plan. It just means you should have another hobby or something that you possibly enjoy doing that could get you some money. Because if you're solely relying on music, just the way the music world is structured,
Mm-hmm. So political.
it's so political, and also you get paid like quarterly. It's just like one of those things where in the music industry, it's not really set up for you to get paid like bi-weekly, like a regular
Right.
check.
Yeah.
Royalties take a while as well. So it's just, my point is, people are hungry
Mm-hmm.
when they're in these sessions, and they end up backstabbing you, because they're always trying to get the most percentage so they can
Yeah.
eat. You
Yeah.
see, and that to me just drives me nuts. Like
Mm-hmm.
seriously, it just drives me nuts, because especially when, I think one thing I always like to say is, your true friends after the first placement, after the first major placement. Why?
Okay.
Because splits happen,
Yeah.
and that's when people's true colors come out. If you guys can make it past that first split round,
Yeah.
the relationship is over, or you guys got stronger. It's usually one of those.
So when it goes into splits for you, do you like to have something like written before I even recording one? I'm like, hey, this is what I'm thinking for splits.
So I don't
You have it on
talk those
paper.
conversations ahead of time. I don't have a manager anymore. We kind of like split ways.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I am looking for a new one, but at the same time I'm not. But when a manager is really useful is in those circumstances, when,
Mm-hmm.
because they're the ones, they don't mind looking bad, even though
Yeah.
everyone knows on the other end that they're still talking to me or whoever
Mm-hmm.
they're representing. It's still better coming from someone else. So I do have other
Mm-hmm.
things in place, like people who could step in for me, like CEOs of huge companies to help. But it's just like, that's really what it comes down to. It's like political power. So let's say if I didn't have much political power, then I'll get someone who has the same or even more.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's so political when it comes to these splits. It's literally drives me nuts. And there's times when I have so much political power, I could say what I want. So it's like, it just depends on the kind of record, and it's always best to have people who are high up to also represent you, because You will, it's not if, you will get ripped off if you don't have like political power for sure.
Yeah. Thank you. That's actually really great advice. I
Yeah.
can't wait for someone to take that home with them for sure, because
Yeah.
there's a lot that goes on inside the music industry that we're not really privy to, especially as just like people who are passionate about music or who just love music, and then they get into the music industry and then they realize it has little to do with your actual passion.
Yeah, no, if you're not passionate for this, for sure, you're not gonna last long. That's not a doubt.
You have to go in with a
You
business
have to,
mindset as
yeah,
well.
you have to go to business. Luckily for me, like I have a business background, so there's times
Same.
when there's times, there's times when even my current lawyer, I would see things already, and I'll just ask, hey, I saw this. What do you think? And I catch things because I'm trained to also read contracts. So,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
I'm proud of that. But at the same time, it's like, um,
It starts a
yeah,
lot of arguments because they think that you're not going to notice things that you end up noticing.
right. And I always find it funny. Like, so I actually got a 2-song placement for like this artist in Korea. I can't say their names, but in Korea, so it's like a K-pop thing.
Don't
And
tell me it's Blackpink. I'll faint. I'll cut it out.
so they sent me a contract, and without me even reading beyond the first page, I knew it was gonna be so bad.
Uh,
And I literally sent it to my lawyer. I said, "Hey, here it is. Tell me what you think, but here's what I found." Literally, when the lawyer sent it back from page 1 all the way to page, I think it was like 7, was all red. And red was just like, it's called redlinings, where it's like, hey, change this, and it was all like red. There was barely any black, meaning if it's black, that means we left originally what they had. But the whole pages were red, and they still haven't gotten back to us, and it's just like, okay, now what? So these things happen. I just think you need to have thick skin, and you have to find your way to stay sane, because this is when people are ready to backstab people when it comes to splits. It's just, these things happen. It's because if you think about it, there's the barrier of entry is like, there's none. Anybody could get in. So you're gonna attract the nobodies, the evil ones, the smart ones, the everyone's, the creative ones, the non-creative ones. Everybody's in here. Had if music required a certification, I think it'll be a lot easier to make it, in the music industry. But the fact that it's saturated and anyone could come in, this is where we have to,
yeah.
and
Like
some people
most creative
are
fields, there's not a roadmap. So
exactly, and some people are there because they're lucky. So it creates, when you happen to know Big Sean,
yeah.
and he's your boy,
Nepotism. Yeah.
you're not talented, but because you know him, you all of a sudden feel entitled, and yeah. But yeah.
So true. I'm just really happy to like reconnect too.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it's
No,
so
for
surreal.
sure. Yeah. I've actually been trying to reconnect with a lot of people I used to speak with. It's just like, as you get older, you realize how important relationships are. So yeah. So I think for me, I got so focused on music, and trying to make it.
Yeah.
That sometimes I never burn bridges, but it's more of just relationships is like the phone works both ways. Like, at the same time, it's like,
Same.
don't say, like, I get that all the time. Oh, you never call anymore. I'm like,
well, but you don't call. You don't hit me up. That's why I like your birthday invitation where you're basically like, man, y'all acting like you can't just.
Yeah, no, legit. That made like it's funny because a lot of people tell me, like, ever since like I like so-called made it, everyone's like, oh, like I can't remember, I got so scared to reach out to you. I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. Like, why would you get so scared to reach out? Like,
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm the same guy. Like, yeah, sure, you got this placement, this and this and that, but it's like that doesn't define you. I'm still the person.
Being at Guitar Center basically taught me a lot about like music relationships, right? I worked with someone who ended up making it a year after he quit, but he was still grinding that entire time, and we were working together in the same uniform. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The first person who taught me about sync deals, he still works at Guitar Center, and he still gets checks, $6,000 royalty check out of nowhere, or $10,000 out of nowhere from something that aired like 10 years ago.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah. It's real. I have things on CW, even like Riverdale, for example.
Yeah, I
Like
saw it. I
I still
saw
get
it.
paid for
I was listening to that
Riverdale.
song today.
Yeah, yeah, I still get paid from that. Like, yeah, like I get TVs. I got a recent commercial that was
Was
like,
it the Apple one, or that one was a while
oh, the
ago?
Apple one was cool too. I also did this recent commercial. I don't know if I can talk about it yet because it's not
Okay.
probably out, but it's like a beverage company and they pay like
Mm.
60K.
Ooh,
Like,
for the music?
yeah,
Mm,
but it's like, I mean,
congratulations.
granted, I have to split some of that, but
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's still 60K.
So how you got most of your sync deals, is it mostly through Pulse Music Group and like their
Yeah,
publishing
yeah,
division? So
yeah.
how did your relationship with Pulse Music Group begin?
I used to follow this one producer, which he's still around. I won't mention the name though, but it's like he first told me about polls, but at that time I was so new in the game. I was just like 2016, and I'm trying to like still figure out like how to quantize. I'm trying to figure out like like how to make my music sound better. So
Uh-huh.
he first told me about them, but I didn't make much of it. And then years later, I ended up starting doing beat battles, and the beat battles is because I wanted more exposure and also like see what's out there, like what am I against. And so I started doing beat battles, and I was winning first place here and there. And then there was one though that really got me, that I went to. It was like the finals, right? And then you could catch it on YouTube. It's still
I
there.
saw it.
People watch it,
Yep.
and so I won second place in that, and that one basically like rubbed me like the most, right? Because it got so political. Like the crowd was saying I won because it was like,
I saw that.
but it was like, yeah. Anyways, so
Mhm.
I'm probably still salty about it, but it's okay.
Look, man, you have
So
every
that
right to be.
yeah, so that happened. And there was what happened after that? Okay, yeah. So I went to a studio session with someone, and then they ended up, we ended up doing something. And I guess like few nights like ago, we basically went to like another beat battle where they're gonna have like the most like popular like producers playing, and then there was an A&R there that basically like was like, hey, from Warner, like, hey, I do this and this and that. um I would love to introduce you, blah blah blah. So we ended up doing that. So I ended up going to Warner a couple times, and then just over time the relationship got better. I met other people within that place. There was another A&R that like I basically got closer with him, and we worked together a lot. And he knew someone else at Pulse that basically was like, "Yo, this guy is like the next one. You really need to like double down on him." Blah blah blah. So they reached out to me, and we dated for a little bit. And the dating means like you date with the
Yeah,
company.
like a
And
courtship.
yeah,
Yeah.
of course, so you date just to see if you guys are a good fit. And I don't know what it is. It was one of those things where it felt like it was too good to be true.
Mhm.
Because like everybody was just so nice and cool. So I was like, oh, are they being fake? But at the same
Mhm.
time, I was like, no, I don't think they're being fake. Because I had opportunities to go to like bigger major ones like Warner's and all that stuff.
Uh-huh.
But I've heard about their deals, the way it's structured. It's very minimum delivery requirement, something like that. So
Mhm.
you have to basically spit out a certain number of songs and to recoup, like they're going to give you money and then you have to
Yeah,
pay that
yeah,
back.
yeah.
But the way that recoupment is done is something like you have to, I forgot how it goes, but it's
You
like it's
kind of have
really
to
bad.
pay for your studio time. You have
It's
to,
pretty bad. There's a lot of rules that happens just for you
yeah.
to, and I think albums don't count, something like that. So I didn't want to
Mm.
deal with all that. So whereas these guys were like, hey, we don't do any of that.
Mhm.
Just we just love you. We was like, we're gonna help you, da da da, and
Mhm.
that was it. I ended up
Okay.
going in there, and I've always been big on relationships and just making people like you.
Mhm.
And that's exactly what I did. I made sure to meet with every single person, even interns in there,
Yeah.
and just let them know who I was. Some of them we went out to go eat and ended up being cool with everyone.
Yeah.
And it's all genuine. Like I think that's one thing
Yeah.
people don't realize is like you want to create friends before you start asking for opportunities.
To know what was that moment when you're working at this successful accounting firm and you just took this leap of faith and you're
Yeah.
like, I'm quitting and I'm doing music, and that was
Yeah.
it.
So for sure, and this one's easy. I could even keep it. It's definitely short. It's just like you're working 80 to 90 hours a week
Mm-hmm.
minimum at these big four firms. So I did not work for the big four purposely. I actually got offers to go there. You're going to be making definitely over 100K, but you're going to essentially be underpaid if you really do the math. You're basically making minimum wage for high stress, low amount of money. You're not really enjoying it, and your relationships are basically like none. You don't socialize. Granted, yes, it is the first 4 months and then the last 4 months of the year because there's two tax deadlines. But the middle in the summer around that time, that's the only time you really get to like breathe, but you're still working maybe 40, 50 hours. And so I did it for probably 2 years. And during that time, I still was trying to like crack the code with music, you know. And one day, it was around. The funny part is, I actually think is actually March 18th, which is funny. This is when we're recording this on March 18th, because we had a little less than a month to go for the 4/15 tax deadline. I was just on my computer, and I was like, I feel weird. Like, so I had one of my friends, Chandler, and it's like, hey, let's just grab our lunch early today. So we ended up going to this one restaurant across the street to grab lunch. Out of nowhere, I just feel like I'm fainting. I was like, what is going on? I was like, bro, like da 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 da. My heart rate is like trying to get out of my chest. And it was just like so bad. And I was like, all right, let's go back to the office. Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, maybe I just need to sit down in a cooler environment. So we went there, and then it happened again. And this time I actually felt like the whole place was going dark. And I was like, dude, rush me to the emergency room. Like, let's go quickly. So we ended up going to, and then they just told me I had a panic attack. And just a week ago, like from that time, I heard in the Big Four someone died from a heart attack because of stress. Not to be all depressing. And they just, all they did was replace him. And then now in my mind, I'm like, after this episode that I had of a panic attack, this is the first time it's ever happened. I didn't even know these things happen. It really feels like you're dying. Like, if I actually died, I would have just been a replacement.
It's really expendable.
You know, and that hit me hard. You know, sometimes we need trauma to move us away from our circumstances, you know, and I think the pandemic did that to a lot of people. And so that trauma happened to me, and I said, no, I need to live my life. And just during that same time, it was funny because I actually had a call with her this morning. A friend of mine sent me a quote that was like, an very old lady on her deathbed, and she was like, she wished, if there's one regret she had in life, she wished she didn't listen to people, like her family, to tell her what she needed to be. And I was like, damn, I'm feeling all these three things. And I just said, you know what? I don't know how I'm gonna pay my bills. I don't know how I'm gonna make it, but I'm gonna just make the leap. I make the leap, and somehow, like, there was another guy that was like, hey, I heard you made the leap, and like, I want you to run a music company with me, and it'll pay your bills at the same time, and you get to run and do whatever you want to do on your music side. I was like, wait, what? It was just a perfect timing. So from there on, I just took advantage of it. And you know, obviously I'm not with him anymore, but like, it's funny how after you take a leap, if you really believe in it, you've been praying about it, like, opportunities will come. I'm not saying just quit, you know, but I did quit without knowing what's next. I did not have much savings at that time. Sure, I was making a lot, but I was also trying to pay down my student loans. I had expenses, credit cards I racked up because, you know, I was trying to buy music gear. So I got rid of all those, but like, I made the leap. And I hate that I had that anxiety attack, because sometimes, you know, you still go through them, but it's a lot more manageable. I don't go through much more, but I am grateful for that experience, because that's what got me here.
Would you say your parents are proud of you now,
Now,
even with the type of
now,
music that you
now,
make?
now. And what pisses me off is um, they tell that to their friends, and then their friends come and tell me, "Oh my God, you don't know, but your parents say so much great things about you. Like they're so proud of you." I'm like, "Bam, how?" Like they don't sit me down and say that, but I know they're proud for sure.
Yeah.
And I think my biggest proudest moment was when I got my first fat like check.
Mhm.
I basically gave everybody a couple grand, just like, "Hey,
Mm.
thank you for taking all the noise I was doing."
Mm.
And I think that silenced everyone. I think I don't know. I didn't do it to silence anyone. It was just genuine, like,
Like just showing them like this was never just a phase for me. This was
yeah,
never
I was
just
serious about this.
yeah. Yeah. This wasn't
You know,
just oh it's fun, but
yeah,
especially since you started, they had other intentions for you being a
yeah,
musician.
for sure,
So
for
I
sure.
get what you mean.
Let's just say, like, I was for sure just not passionate for anything and just not creative. I would definitely be super high ranked, like in the accounting world right now. I know it.
Mhm.
Um, Making probably what 250 a year, like I definitely would have made it, but like where's the joy in that? Like where's the joy in 90 hours of wasting your life? I just couldn't do it. So it's gotten to a point where money didn't make much sense. I'd rather make barely, but knowing that I have my sanity and I'm just super happy. I think that's what's killing a lot of creatives is they're too safe.
Mhm.
You're too safe. You have all these aspirations, but you're scared. You really, if you're waiting for the right time, it's never gonna happen. There's no such thing as right time.
I read one of your interviews that you did before, and you were talking about an experience you faced in your childhood that made you basically gave you a second chance at life, and then it
Yeah.
changed the way you approached everything in your life from then on.
Yeah.
Would you care to elaborate a little bit more about what had happened to you?
Yeah. So when I was basically 18 months of age, so I've always been told like it's something I did. Like I was 18 months. But I always strongly believe it was someone else, and I think I kind of got confirmation on this. But basically, um, I had a deadly alkaline that I ingested, like the same kind of batteries and acids they use for batteries and hair products. So I basically ingested that, right, and I basically destroyed my whole esophagus, and that's where my whole journey began. I basically was in the hospital for like 8 years, just
Wow.
like not just one central hospital, but like going around different hospitals looking for the best cure, the best surgeon for the neck, the best surgeon for the stomach, the best surgeon for like different areas of the body.
Mhm.
And that essentially, first of all, that's what helped me be cool with everyone because I was very open to multiple cultures. Like I was in Hawaii, I was in Marshall Islands, I was in different places, Australia, like literally England,
Mhm.
all types of places, just looking for cures. And that basically, I still have marks on me, like my stomach has some, but it's like it's just one of those things where it's like uh I guess how this has impacted my life, it's more or less of just the character and just being more grateful.
Mhm.
Grateful of just where I am, and there's nothing really worth in this life to die for.
Yeah.
Because life is so precious, and that's why I think I try to be as cool as possible with people. Yeah, I understand I'm not gonna be liked, but like I try to just be cool with everyone. That doesn't mean they'll take advantage of me. I will definitely stand up, but like at the same time, well, if you really know the secret of this life, it's really just two things. One is to believe in God itself, and then also to love others. And if you do those two things, that's actually the real key to success. Forget what YouTube would tell you.
Mhm.
It really comes down to those two things. And if you look at it, if you love others, people are gonna love you and they're gonna help you.
Mhm.
So if you know how to do those two things, you're essentially unstoppable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I honestly believe it too. I feel like the best, at least the best combatant for me, like I know we were talking earlier about how, yeah, at first I was like, I didn't really like you because I was super competitive against you. But once I was able to I had faced something that made me start leading more so with empathy and being able to understand other people's experiences and being able to understand that, accepting people as an individual, what I mean? Without trying to place our own expectations of who they are or trying to basically what your parents did, like trying to figure out what you should be for me.
Facts.
I mean? And then just once you can accept them just about who they are, and then sure, judge on that basis, but have we all not done something at some point?
Facts.
You know what I mean?
No, facts. Yeah. No, you're right. You're right.
That's why cancel culture is not real. Because we've
all
done something that should have gotten us canceled.
It's not real. And in today's time, like we don't realize, like I even deactivated my Instagram right now, but it's like whether you like it or not, comparison is a killer, Mm-hmm. And that's what kills a lot of people, is when you start looking at other people without really understanding their story. Mm-hmm. And you start comparing yourself to them. And I'm a person who believes strongly, I'm confident in what I do, I know my goals, mm-hmm. but just being exposed to it, whether you think you're strong enough or not, still has influence on you.
Yeah.
So because I'm a person who reacts quick in terms of myself and goals, so the smarter thing to do is just deactivate it and only log in when you're trying to send a DM or post something and then get back out,
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's not healthy to just sit there and scroll. You'll just, it's either, so-and-so is getting married, why are you not married? Or like music this placement that. It's like comparison is everywhere. Mm-hmm. And if you really think about it, there is no timeline to any of these things I mentioned. It's everyone's success is different, Mm-hmm. And so it's like, this is where you really have to practice self-love. A lot of people would be happier today if they just deleted their social media.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah.
Well, I won't take too much of your time. I just I'm really grateful to have you as a friend. I'm really grateful that things have turned around for you in your life.
Thank you.
That you stayed on your path. You're not working for a firm anymore. You know what I mean? You're able to take what you want out of life, and that's amazing. Yeah. I'm excited.
You got it.
Yay. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me over, and have a great one and keep up the good work.
Thank you. You as well.
All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.